Hola mes amis, it's me, Creole Lady Marmalade. Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, bienvenue. So this video actually piggybacks off another video of mine that asked the question, do Creoles need to learn French or Kouri Vini? Like, is that something we have to do in order to be Creole? And my sentiment is, no, you don't have to. You're still Creole, but I definitely think we should. So in this video, I wanted to pose the question, well, which one should we learn? Should we learn Louisiana French or Cajun French or Louisiana Creole, aka Kouri Vini? And that's really not an easy question because one might think, well, if you're Cajun, learn Cajun French. If you're Creole, learn Louisiana Creole. But it's really not that simple because both languages were kind of like no one set of people necessarily used one set of languages. There's tons of Cajuns who spoke Kouri Vini, and I'm not sure if it's vice versa. I'm not sure if slaves spoke Cajun French, but I know for sure Cajuns and everybody spoke the Kouri Vini, even though the Kouri Vini was mainly developed by the slaves' adaptation of French. Their interpretation of it and regurgitation of it ended up turning into a Creole language. You know, it has a lot of African elements and influences in it, but everyone was kind of speaking that. Even Louisiana French does still have some loan words and terms and elements of other languages thrown into it, such as the West African word gumbo, which means okra. And it makes sense because we have okra gumbo. We have gumbo with okra in it. It's not my preference. I prefer gumbo without okra, but it makes sense to me that gumbo would mean okra. And then we have the word that comes from Spanish, lanyap, which means a little something extra. Actually, if we break this all the way down, lanyap comes from the American Spanish word la ñapa, which comes from the Quechua word yapa, which means something added. I was wondering because I never ran across the word lanyap in anything that was Spanish, but this was probably a particular American variety of Spanish that particularly used that Quechua word, yapa. And it went from yapa in Quechua to la ñapa in Spanish to lanyap in Louisiana French. These are a few examples of words that you can find in Louisiana French that are loan words from other languages. But like I said, Kouri Vini is completely removed and it's a Creole language. For a long time, linguists used to classify it as a dialect of French, but they're now saying it's not a dialect, it is a language all its own. So both are derivatives of French. It's just that Louisiana French or Cajun French is mutually intelligible for the most part. Maybe you might have a hard time with the accent because the accent's very different from a lot of other French dialects. But for the most part, Louisiana French is mutually intelligible around the French world, whereas Louisiana Creole or Kouri Vini, it is not mutually intelligible because it has entirely different grammar, lexicons, words. It has so much African influence that it's a Creole. It's a derivative of French, but it is its own Creole language, much like Haitian Creole is. It's Louisiana Creole, that's Haitian Creole. Not to be confused for Haitian Creole because they're not the same thing, but they were developed in the same way at same time. It's the slaves' adaptation. This is just the Louisiana slaves' adaptation of the French language. Haitian Creole is the Haitian slaves' adaptation of the French language. But yes, both are Creoles that derive from the French language. So as the new year is approaching, or I'll be taking so long to edit these, might be after the new year. But as it stands right now, the new year is approaching, and that has me thinking about my language learning goals for the new year. And as I think about this, I'm grappling through the thoughts of, do I want to learn Kouri Vini or do I want to learn French? And then if I want to learn French, do I want to focus on Louisiana French, or do I just want to learn standard French? So really, there's kind of three options. There's two local dialect options, and then the third is just going with standard French. So for me, ideally, in a perfect world, I would love to learn Kouri Vini because that is the most super distinct. I love that it includes the African elements. I would love to learn that. But the thing about that is not enough people speak it. And I know the whole point is, well, yeah, that's the point. Get more people to speak it so it doesn't die. And I would love to be one of those heroes. But I know a lot of other people aren't going to do it. And it's like, yeah, even though a lot of other people aren't going to do it, you should stand up and do it. Yeah, but this is language. This is a different ball game. This isn't me standing up for what's right. And this is, language requires people. It requires me having people to talk to. I want to talk to more than 12 people. And yes, no, it's literally not 12. We know more than 12 people speak Kouri Vini, but it may as well be 12 people. So I don't want this to be a thing of like, I don't want to feel like I'm learning Latin. And no, Kouri Vini is not a dead language like Latin is. There's a handful of people I could speak to, but it's damn near dead. And I just, all the time that it takes to learn a language, and not to mention there's so few resources. There's no way for me to get a real true handle on the pronunciation. If I really did my research and went out and met with these people out in, I don't even know where they live, out in these country parts of Louisiana, because you have people in the metro area who are learning it. I don't think y'all really know how to pronounce these words. We're all like, it's the blind leading the blind. But if I were to go out to the country and sit with these old families who still have great-great-grandma there who's speaking it, and their family held on to it, I'm sure I could, learn from them and hear their pronunciation. But do I really want to go through all that? If I learn French, there's so many more resources. And yes, you have Louisiana French, and you have regular standard metropolitan French from France, but I feel like there's more. Now this is me. I don't know if it's true. I'm almost certain that it's true that there are more Cajuns or more people who speak Louisiana Cajun French than there are those who speak Kouri Vini. I can find a handful of more resources for learning Louisiana French, but what would have the most resources is learning standard French. And I feel like learning French at all is better than learning no French or no Kouri Vini. So learning standard French, I could immerse myself, and that's the whole language. The way a language is really gonna get in you and really grow on you is immersing yourself. So I can watch YouTube videos and movies and TV shows and music and podcasts, and everything exists for the standard French language for me to truly immerse myself and truly grasp the language. And I feel like over time, if enough of us, I don't think we all need to agree on learning one form of it. I feel like if enough of us learn either Louisiana French, Standard French, Kouri Vini, if enough of us learn any of those three, and we come together and we have community and we have these events where we speak it and we get to know one another, it'll start to form. If enough of us were to do it, it would start to blend into a whole new dialect of Louisiana French, like Louisiana French 2.0 anyway, because they're all just variations of the same thing anyway. Of course, Kouri Vini is the most removed, but be that as it may, they're all French in some form or capacity. So I just urge, to me, it doesn't even matter. Just anybody who's Creole, Cajun, you learn one of these, that's good enough. We have French immersion schools. A lot of them are popping up throughout the state, especially in New Orleans, for children. And the thing is, they're learning standard French because there's not enough Louisiana French speakers or Kouri Vini speakers to teach them our local dialects. So the new generation, they're all learning standard French. And yeah, in a perfect world, I would love for us to learn our old variation of it. And if you want to go, you're just it's gonna take an extra mile. You're gonna have to go out of your way and work a little harder to learn our dialects of it. But what I think would be the easiest thing to do would be to pair Cajun French and Standard French. Learn Standard French, and then learn some Louisiana specific terms for certain things so that you can put a little razzle dazzle on your French and make it a little bit more home, make it a little bit more Louisiana by adding these Louisiana French words on top. I would imagine you could do the same thing with Kouri Vini. It's just that grammatically, the grammar is so different. But I feel like you could take loan words from either Kouri Vini or Louisiana French, sprinkle them on your standard French, and that way you're bringing it a little bit closer to home and just giving it a little bit more of our specific cultural identity sprinkled on top. But we got to work with what we have. And I just feel like because we don't have a ton of elders who can just teach it to us, you can't just go to mama's house. A lot of them are either dead are old as hell and barely remember it. You know, a lot of them spoke it as children. A lot of them didn't even necessarily speak it. A lot of them just understood it from their parents and grandparents, and they could understand it, but they didn't necessarily speak it. So they're so old now that either they've died, they've already passed on, or they're just not in their right minds. They're in a nursing home. They're old. They don't remember it. They've been speaking English for 70, 80 years. They forgot it. So because we can't, it's just not at our fingertips, like talking about it. We have like round table meetup, and we do have a lot of things in the community where you can go and sit together and teach each other and have conversation. And I think that's beautiful and that's great. I think more of us need to take advantage of that. But I think that on our own time, because we can't go to these meetups with each other every day, all day. I think on our own time, if we learn standard French, because that's just the easiest thing to get your hands on, and then we get together and we learn these other Louisiana phrases and grammar things and get together and put our Louisiana spin on it, I think that's great. I think that's good enough. So to answer your question, should Creoles learn Louisiana French or Louisiana Creole or just regular French? It's up to you. It doesn't matter. I just want us to learn any of it, because it's all, like I say, if enough of us learn any of it, it's all gonna come together anyway. So at the end of the day, just learn some form of, hell, you can probably learn Haitian Creole and bring that to the table. It doesn't matter. If we pull it all together, it's gonna blend into a thing anyway. But if you do learn Haitian Creole, be sure to let people know you speak in Haitian Creole. Don't speak that claiming it's Louisiana Creole. Give them their credit, because that's their language. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like because Creoles are so far removed from the original language that if you're gonna go out of your way to learn a Creole language that's far removed from French, then you may as well learn our Creole for all that. But I do understand that Haitian Creole was gonna have more resources and whatnot, because there's a lot more speakers of it. It's more of an official thing. So you will be able to find more resources in Haitian Creole than Louisiana Creole. So I wouldn't knock it. I wouldn't be mad at it. It's still a form of French. It's still, we could figure it out. We could figure out ways to communicate, because at the end of the day, we all speak English. So there's a way to pull it together. And I just would love, if enough of us learned enough of these, that eventually it would kind of, over the years, maybe not in our lifetime, but at some point it would kind of evolve into a whole, like I said, Louisiana French 2.0 with a lot of English influence, I'm pretty sure. And I think that's beautiful. As much as I think English is ugly and boring and bland, I think it would be cool if we over time evolved our French language into something that's heavily English influenced, because I feel like that would really tell our story. Because as an ethnic group, that's what we are. We were once French, who are now Americans. And if we can have our language be the same way, a language that was once French, that is now French with a lot of heavy English influence, it would tell our story of who we are and what we are. So I don't know. I know I'm living in a fairy tale with that. I know enough of us, I don't know how many people are going to learn it, but I just feel like if at least a few of us learned it too, and maybe not even to a degree of fluency, but just if we learned enough of it to hold conversations, and just enough of us, we could at least enjoy the company of one another and the conversation with one another, even if as a whole, all of Louisiana didn't get on board. If just enough of us do it, then we could live in our own little cultural bubble together and just enjoy the feeling of being immersed in our culture amongst the handful of us. But yeah, and the reason I say I'm gonna learn French, like standard French, is because it's because worst case scenario, we continue down the slippery slope we have been sliding down, and people don't pick up French or Kouri Vini, and people don't become interested, and the culture just continues to decline and decline and decline. Well, I at least know another language, and I can then speak to other French speakers in the French-speaking world, at the very least. If I can't speak to my own people, then I could at least speak to other people in the Francophone world. But best case scenario, I speak French. And we could all pull it together, and it'll end up becoming a Louisiana dialect anyway. If there's like that many of us speaking it, it's going to turn into its own dialect. It's going to have English influence. It's going to have, if some of us are learning Kouri Vini and some of us are focusing on Cajun French, Louisiana French, it's going to pull together all these elements and turn into its own Louisiana dialect. So that would be the best case scenario. So if we learn any form of French and we all pull it together, it's going to turn into its own dialect, and it's not going to be hard to do because the different Frenches will understand each other enough. I mean, we all speak English, so there's a way to pull it all together and translate between the English and make it work. So that's why I say I'm just gonna learn regular French, because I just don't want to be stuck speaking a language that nobody else is on board with learning, and I don't have nobody to talk to. Whereas I can learn regular French, and in either scenario it works out. If y'all don't learn it, I'll just talk to the other French speaking people. If y'all do learn it, well, I'll just bring it over here and add it. We'll just mix it all up. It's all French. Because I just feel like if enough of us started learning French of some sort, it would shift our entire image. It would make everyone look at us differently. It would make us look at ourselves differently. Even if we're all walking around speaking Frenchglish, then we'd be known as those Creole people that speak French mixed with English. That would be good enough. It's something. It would distinguish us as being culturally Francophone in some capacity. Even if we can't get to fluency, even if we can't get it fully together, if we're just using some words in French, that would be good enough to make people see us as a unified culture who does this same one thing together, because we all have to be on one page. I can go learn French and speak French and go out into the French world, but then I'm just gonna be an American girl who speaks French. Whereas if we all do it, then we're those Creoles with those Louisiana people who speak French. Because for too long, people have stifled and sneered at our very existence. Beyonce got backlash for being in that L'Oreal ad and having them list her race as African American, French, and Native American. That is what she is. People get mad at us for being what we are, and I feel like we should give pushback and really be who we are. And they can't go against it so much if we are a united front and we speak our own language. You cannot dismiss the fact that an ethnic group has a language. You cannot say that it's not a real thing if it has a language behind it, a language that is older than America, a language that existed before we became Americans. You can't dispute that. And I feel like probably every Creole person in modern society has been sneered at in some form or another by someone for saying they were Creole. And that's crazy. And you gotta know, it's gotta make you wonder why. Like, no one else gets that type of hate. Like that makes me want to cling on to it even more, because why is it hurting you so bad? Why is it messing with everybody so bad? I'm gonna keep saying it. And you make me want to keep saying it. Like, there's got to be something special about this that gets you all in a frenzy and all worked up. Now I'm gonna go learn French. Now I'm gonna go hang a flag in my car like the Mexicans do. Now come on now. People don't hate on stuff for no reason. Subjects aren't always on people's minds for no reason. If every time someone says they're Creole, somebody gets mad, it's for a reason. Give them something to hate on. And then they're gonna have to stop hating eventually once they can't question it no more. The reason they go ham right now is because they feel like they can dismantle it or tear it down or say it's not real. Build it up, because at that point, all they're doing is hating. You can hate, but you can't say it's not real.
I don't see how you can hate from outside of the club. You can't even get in.
Then you just look jealous. You know, you're not jealous, are you?
Samantha, you must be mad. But you're mad. You're mad.
But I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't want to say you're jealous if you're not jealous. But anyway, yeah, so yes, at the end of the day, just speak French. Parlez français. I'm sure I said it wrong. But another thing I'm torn with learning French is, do I want to pronounce French the standard way or the Louisiana way? Now, I've got to go and listen to more Louisiana French to fully try to grasp the accent. But one thing I do know is that our R's are very different. Louisiana French rolls their R's like Spanish. Not like rrr, but just the tapped R. Pero instead of perro, but pero.
Je m'appelle Warren Perrin et je viens d'Hérat, une petite ville dans la paroisse Vermillon dans le sud de la Louisiane.
Whereas we all know the crazy distinct French Standard French are.
Comment ça va? Ça va très bien, merci de me recevoir et merci.
Vous êtes arrivé quand à Paris?
Je suis arrivé aujourd'hui, mais j'étais là hier aussi.
Ouais.
Ça fait un petit peu.
Et vous repartez quand? C'est quoi?
Je repars lundi.
I want to sound like I'm from Louisiana. I want to be as close to our dialect as I can be. But I feel like because I didn't grow up, enough of us don't speak Louisiana French. My ears, when I hear French, I'm used to the, you know, that spitty, throaty R. And it's funny though, because my youngest daughter, she actually went to French immersion school from pre-K through first grade before we moved. And so that's and they teach them standard French in school. So that's the French she's familiar with. So it's been a few years since she's even been in French school. She's 9 now. But till this day, like I teach her Spanish, and like when she says tres, she says tres. Like instead of the regular R and then S, she puts a Z at the end, like you do in French. Tres, uno, dos, tres. And it's so funny, it's so cute. I love that she has that. It makes me feel like she's authentically Creole Louisiana, because she's got like a little French accent with her. While she's learning Spanish, she's got like a French accent with it. So cute. But you know, that's a France French thing, not a Louisiana French thing. But so I don't know, I'm torn on that. Even my older daughter, she went to that same school. She wasn't in the immersion program, but they did take French classes like almost daily. It was like a subject they had to take. So she too, from a young age, was learning French to some capacity. And we were doing Spanish the other day, and she was trying to pronounce trabajar, and she had just the most difficult time. She kept saying trabajar instead of trabajar. But that's just cute little side notes. But yeah, so I gotta figure out what I want to do with for pronunciation. But I kind of feel like if I'm learning French and I'm being immersed in it and I'm watching all this content and media, I'm going to hear standard French, and I'll probably end up just developing closer to a standard French accent. So it's probably not even something I need to think about. I'll just probably naturally do it that way. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna stop here. I've been rambling for quite a while about this, but yeah, just learn French, period. In general, I think it would be beautiful. French is a beautiful language. It's just a pretty language. I mean, most languages are prettier than English, but French is a very pretty language. So yeah, like I say, this upcoming new year, I'm gonna be learning French. I'm still learning Spanish, so I'm gonna be doing both simultaneously. But I'm at least at a decent level in Spanish, because I didn't want to feel like I was trying to cram two things in at the same time. And then they're both Romance languages, and you can kind of like mix up vocabulary one for the other. But I'm far enough in Spanish to where I think I can now start doing French. But yeah, so thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know down below your thoughts on French. If you're Creole, which form of French would you learn, or are you going to learn? If you're not Creole, what form of French do you think we should be learning? Do you think we should stay true to Kouri Vini because of the African element of it, and that would be, you know, encompassing and honoring our African heritage? Or do you think it doesn't really matter? Because like I said, that's the reason why I would love to do Kouri Vini, because of holding on to that African element. It's just that I don't want to be speaking it by myself. If I were guaranteed, if someone told me today, hey, 100,000 other people are going to do it too, then yeah, I'd do that. But no one's guaranteeing me that with the trajectory of the world, I just don't foresee a lot of people jumping on board to learn any of it, honestly. So that's why I'm gonna just do French. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Are you guys part of a particular culture or ethnic group, and you want to start learning your language? Is it something you're mixed with that you didn't necessarily grow up with, or you grew up with it and you just didn't learn it? Is it something that's kind of far down in your ancestry, but you feel proud of it and you want to learn it? Tell me about your language learning goals. If you don't necessarily plan on learning a language, but you just think it's a pretty language and you wish you could have the time to learn it, like, talk to me. I love language stuff. I love talking about languages, all languages in general. If you have learned French already, tell me, what do you like most about it? Was it easy or hard? I mean, learning languages are never easy, but what was your experience with learning French or Kouri Vini? Just I want to hear about it all if it has to do with language. But yes, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that fun stuff. I'll be talking to you guys soon. Au revoir. Aiko ande, Giacomo fino annale, Giacomo finale.